Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Reclaiming Our Identity. I know it has been a long time, it's been a minute since we did a vlog, since we did a video, but we are back and we are excited today because we have the opportunity to interview a couple, a family that has just recently moved to South Africa. I am excited to speak with them to get their take on South Africa. And so, if you guys can introduce yourselves for us, please.
Okay. My name is Scott Norris from Cleveland, Ohio, and this is my wife.
Ezekiel Norris, originally from Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Originally from Boston, Massachusetts.
yeah.
So, you guys are currently in where?
Johannesburg, South Africa,
Johannesburg, South Africa. How long have you guys been there?
since September 2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just about 6 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 6 weeks, 6 weeks. So tell us, why did you choose to move to South Africa? Tell us your story.
Well, it really began back in 2017. I'm also a preacher slash missionary. So while I was in Uganda on my second mission trip there, it was then, always since, even from my first trip back in 2009, that Africa was my home, that this is where the Lord was calling me. And so while I was in Uganda, I guess I always assumed it would, be Uganda or even Kenya, where the Lord would have me to settle. And so it was during that time while in Kampala that I prayed, sought the Lord in prayer about where in Africa I should live. And some moments later, while I was walking down the steps in that hotel, the Spirit of God gave me a vision for South Africa. And so I
Mm,
basically could just see um, that's where the Lord in the continent wanted us to settle as a family. So that's where it began. It began with a word from the Lord, and the Lord began to confirm that to me. A couple of experiences shortly thereafter, even that year, He did do some things of confirming that to me. I still wrestled with it, and it was
mhm.
about a couple of years later when I shared that vision with my wife, and my wife was immediately on board with it. So yeah, I mean, she just did not question it. She could just see herself there, and so it was like after that, we started. Well, I think what led to me sharing it with my wife was I was watching some other YouTube videos. This one particular travel and tour company here, and they, what I was finding was a lot of good information beyond just tourism. They were talking about, just some of the essentials
Mhm.
for one might need for. Sorry about that. One might need in order to relocate here, and so um, that's when I felt the courage and I sensed the Spirit of God kind of bringing it back to my remembrance to, share that vision with my wife. And I did. And from then on, we just, took it upon ourselves to learn as much as we could about South Africa. We made the decision to visit. Originally, we were going to come in 2020. But of course, in 2020, um, in 2020, that's when
COVID.
COVID happened.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided, we had to push back our plans to 2021. And uh, that's when we came. It was in 2021. We did our first visit and we stayed for a month. It was a discovery trip. And then, we made up our minds then for sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this was our home. We were actually sad when it was time for us to leave. And and we kept that vision strong. We just continue to pray and keep the vision before us and keep it before the Lord in prayer, and prepared our way, and now we're here. So I don't know if you had anything to add to
So
that.
now we're going to be a little bit more consistent here. No, well,
Come on, break
one
it
part
down.
he
Break it
missed.
down.
He missed the part that within those 2 years, he was actually presenting every other country that came in his mind. So he did bring up Uganda since he's been there several times. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, nope, like quick, right? He brought
Mm-hmm.
up Kenya. I was like, absolutely not. He brought up Ghana. And I was like, oh no, you need to
Oh, okay,
stop,
okay.
right?
Time out. Time out. Time out. Time out.
Uh huh.
Before you continue, unpack why not
Yeah.
Kenya and why not Ghana?
Okay.
To be honest with you, it was just, it didn't, as soon as he said it, it was
Mm.
like an alarm no. I can't really explain it, right?
Okay.
Now Ghana, I can explain a few reasons why, um, because I have interactions in that area, and I was like, that wouldn't be a good for me. I couldn't see
Mm-hmm.
myself in the kids. So primarily it was the kids, making sure
Okay.
the kids can adapt, right?
Mm-hmm.
For what my perception would be about adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
So those locations to me was just not it. Now, if it was just me and him,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't matter wherever Timbuktu, let's go. I wouldn't care. But because I
Mm-hmm.
had the kids in mind, it just didn't sit right to me. And I remember the day he mentioned, so he was going down the stairs. I was in like the kitchen nook area, and he was going down. He's like, babe, what if we move to South Africa? And he will confirm. All I said was, oh, I could see my music ministry going there. And that was it.
Okay.
And it moved from there.
Okay. So had you guys visited any other countries? Well, I know you say you went to Uganda. Had you all visited Kenya or Ghana or any other country?
Well, he has visited Kenya before.
Yeah, I've been to Kenya and Uganda. So I've been to Kenya twice, Uganda 4 times. I haven't been to Ghana yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I guess in my mind at that time, you know, my first experience with the African continent was Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like that's my first experience, and so I'm somewhat familiar. I know people there. Um, so it was just like then I have some of my own preconceived ideas about South Africa because
Mm-hmm.
of its past and with apartheid and everything else. And so and then hearing about uh, things I might look at in the media, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, about
Yeah.
Arania,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a place that's like an Afrikaner only place. So I
Right.
just had this notion like, oh, it's going to be like the U.S. or whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
and I was fighting it. But every time, like as my wife said, even though I wanted those other countries to be the place, I have to be honest that when I would pray about it, I would not feel any real peace about it. It's not like the Lord
Mm-hmm.
isn't telling me that I can't go back and visit or
Mm-hmm.
that He doesn't have a work for me to do in terms of ministry, but in terms of where our home would be. He made it very clear like, listen, this is going to be South Africa. And so when for those 2 years that I wrestled with it, anytime I thought about South Africa, I had peace about it. I
Right.
had complete peace about it. And then when I watched those videos coming from this one particular couple that now lives here and they have a travel and tour company, it just like, I was like, man, I'm getting a step by step process on everything. Like, this is the
Mm-hmm.
first time I'm hearing real clarity about certain vital aspects about your life when you move to another country. Like, how do you get your banking done, your insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that? And I think, I mean, I guess for me, that's how the Lord was just kind of reminding me, like, I told you, South Africa, right? So, and so the more I started like yielding to it, um, the more and more I began to fall in love with the country. Even before I
Mm-hmm.
came, even some years back in 2010, I had watched a video. Now, this is when I came back from my first trip to Uganda. I had watched the video, a documentary called Blacks Without Borders.
Hmm.
and it was talking about African Americans who had relocated to South Africa. Some of these people had come right after the end of apartheid. And so I remember watching the video then, just being inspired. And back then, I just looked at it just being inspired about living on the continent, right? That there, you can have a life and do well in the continent of Africa. So that's how I looked at it. I didn't know that the Lord even back then was planting the seed in my heart for South Africa, you know. But once I began to say yes to it, and even prior to that, even in 2017, we met some South African people who came for missions, right? So
Hmm.
that was one of the confirmations after I got back in 2017 was that an outreach director, I remember we went to her home, Shoshana, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm getting my house prepared to host people from South Africa." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." I didn't even tell my wife, but I wanted to
Yeah,
meet them
I
bad.
was
And,
Yeah.
oblivious. I was like, oh, that's nice.
and and I met him, and one of the young people, young missionaries that we connected with,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Funzu. We are still in.
Very close now.
We're very close to her
Matter of fact,
for
you're
eight
about to get
years.
married.
Matter of fact, I'm about to officiate her wedding ceremony.
Amen.
Hmm.
Amen.
Coming up in December, it'll be a Zulu wedding, and
Wow.
so her mom. We work together with her in
Yep.
business. They're part of our Bible study now.
Hmm.
So, I mean, over the years, I've built up this relationship with them. And other South Africans, after we came and visited, I got to meet some other people too.
Hmm.
And so I just, fell in love with the country. And then I saw, well, I always knew that there were a lot of similarities in the African American experience
Hmm.
and the Black South African experience as well. So, there's a lot of similarities, with the struggles against, white supremacy.
Right.
There's struggles against apartheid, ours against, segregation and Jim Crow, and just a lot of similar struggles and similar triumphs and stuff like that. So there's just a lot in common, And so once I came here, and even before I came here and visited, yeah, there's, of course, when you've had a society that's been saturated with a racist regime, I guess you might
Hmm.
say, that lasted for so long,
Right.
that residue is going to be there. But I would say a fundamental difference between the U.S. and South Africa in regards to that is that when they overcame their struggle, they became the leaders of the country,
Right.
right? Like they're the majority. So in America, we're still the minority. We still kind of like our position is still kind of like in the hands of others to decide whether or not civil rights is for us or not. You know what I mean? We always have to
Yeah.
consistently fight for it. And not saying that people in various smaller ways, maybe in particular institutions, may have a challenge, but overall, there's a lot of different dynamics. For one, being an African American, you're just perceived differently coming from the West,
Hmm.
which in a sense could be a form of privilege, but you have to just use it. You have to use the power or authority given to you in a way that benefits and blesses others. You know what I
That's right.
mean? And so you're when you're dealing with what I find when you're dealing with a lot of white folks here is now I don't play that you're gonna treat my brother bad and treat me good or nothing like that. But
Hmm.
they're looked upon as somebody kind of like, oh, you're an American, you're probably somebody with deep pockets. I
Hmm.
want to do business with you, I want to work with you. I'm going to make sure that I
I treat you
accommodate
with
you in many
respect.
cases. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have to treat
Hmm.
you with respect, right? And then on top of that, you know, yeah, people say, well, yeah, you hear the issues about land and how whites still have a lot of control over that, but they still have to submit themselves to the rulership and
Right.
leadership of black people. That's
Right.
a that's a lot different than what we have in the U.S. Right? It's
Hmm.
and so I began to say that yeah, this there's a lot of progress that's been made. There's still challenges, of course, that people. I would say more so people that are struggling, who struggle financially. You know,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of people that have succeeded and overcome too as well. So it's not really the depressing environment that I thought it was going to be. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I think that that's something that sometimes I hear some African Americans who are interested in Africa. Some of them are iffy about South Africa because they think it's going to be the U.S. all over again.
Right.
And from my experience, I would say no, it's not. There's a different leverage that you have here. You're still part of the majority. It's a whole different dynamic, that exists. And for people to open up their hearts and minds, and if you're one of those type of people that's on the fence about it for those reasons, I would say come and visit and check it out and see for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Check it out, see for yourself. Other places I've been on the continent, um, you know, I'll say this: a lot of times when Black Americans come to Africa in general to move or to be here or even visit, a
Mhm.
lot of times they're looking for, I guess, healing for some
Right.
people, a cultural connection,
Hmm.
maybe a sense of community or being with your people. And as much as I can say that I love East African people, the hospitality and everything else, one thing I discovered is that there are still a lot of people that have a mentality where they might kind of glorify whiteness to a degree. You know what I mean? And it's
Hmm.
actually quite heavy in a lot of places. You'll be shocked.
Hmm.
Some people say that colonization was good. So the reason I say that is that at first some things, comments that people said used to make me cringe, and I had to patiently kind of explain a different side of that to them.
Right.
But one thing I discovered was that in South Africa, because they of what they dealt with through apartheid, that no, they see straight through all of that, right? They're
Yeah.
not so
Falling for it.
it's
Still falling
more,
for it.
yeah, so it's easier on that level, I find, as an African American, to connect with people about that. Like, they're not necessarily glorifying this other group of people,
Hmm.
because they know the real, right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that a lot of African Americans have to understand, is that you may come to another part of the continent, and I'm not going to say you won't have a good time or that you can't thrive there, but it probably won't be. You probably are not going to get the healing you were looking for. You're gonna have to get that before you come, because you're going to hear people say some comments like, "Hey, brother, sister, can you introduce me to the Mzungu or whatever, or I want to
Hmm.
hook up with them because they're better or whatever." You'll hear some stuff like
Yeah.
that. I know,
Yeah.
I know people don't want to say that, but you'll
It's
hear
the
that. I
truth.
don't
It's the
hear that a
truth.
lot here. And so it can. I haven't heard that at all here. Not to say, I mean, we know everywhere you go, you got black people that have that mentality, right? Even in the
Hmm.
United States, but you may think that South Africa is more. I don't know. I've heard some people say all kind of crazy stuff. Oh, it's more colonized than other parts. Oh, that's not true. Colonization has had its impact on the entire continent, and sometimes if you go to some places, you'll be surprised that people know very little about the slave trade. Even I hear from West Africa, a lot of people, they're not taught that regularly in school. So you
Hmm.
might come there expecting some healing, and they're looking at you as a privileged person coming from the U.S.
Because they
You
don't know the
know,
background.
they don't know the background. All they
Right.
know is the immigrant story. Oh, there's opportunity. Whereas a lot of people here, I mean, yeah, I mean, they've heard the U.S. They would like to go visit it, but a lot of South Africans are actually like cool with being in South Africa, which I think is pretty cool. And then they do understand what our situation is like there. They see black people doing well, like on television, but they understand things about racism and how that works. So that that you might find a little bit more understanding in that area of your life in this part of Africa. I guess that's the point I'm saying, sharing with people. So maybe I'm talking too much. No, okay. So I just think that's a conversation people need to have. That when you go to other parts of the continent, be prepared that some people may be very ignorant about the slave trade. I mean, it's not necessarily a part of their particular history,
Hmm.
even though it's a continental Black history, global
Yeah.
thing. And you might be shocked that some folk will tell you colonialism was a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So be
Yeah.
prepared for that. Don't think that one place is going to understand you better just because you see less white people there, right? And so that's just some of the weird dynamics that can happen in the continent. You know,
Yeah. I tell people you have to it depends on what you're looking for because you're
right?
going to have issues, you're going to have problems in America, you're going to have problems if you go to any country in Africa. It just depends on which, the series of problems you're willing to deal with. But I want to go back to your wife, to Ezekiel, Mrs. Norris. So I cut you off when you were telling me about the move to South Africa. You guys froze up. Can y'all still hear me?
So
Okay,
yeah,
so I cut you off. You were telling me you were going through the story, and you mentioned no to Uganda, no to Kenya, no to Ghana, and please
Mhm.
continue.
So yeah, country and country. It wasn't that much big, it was like a span of span, and, and it was. I was trying to you want to move outside the country because prior to that, we're in
North Carolina.
Carolina. I always
Yeah.
had in mind, hey, I would like to move to Texas. So I was kind of like, where's all this coming from? But I
Hmm.
have to say, when he did bring up South Africa, it was like peace when I responded. It was one of those things where, oh, I'm shocked that I said that type of thing. But it was there's no qualms, no awkwardness. It was no alarm that I felt in my spirit. It was nothing like that. So when he stated and I responded, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see the music ministry going viral and and stuff. And then he was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
To
So
remind you, I
why
kept on saying no.
what was it about South Africa, since you guys had not been before? What was it?
That's I really can't answer that. It just at that moment, it just felt right. Like it
Mhm.
was beyond a physical felt, if I can explain. Right. Now I have, knowledge about South Africa prior
Mhm.
to. But it it just didn't shake me wrong at
Okay.
all. So if you're looking for a specific reason, I can't. I really can't
Yeah.
answer that at
Because
all.
like this one missionary I know in Uganda, an American woman, Black American woman.
Mhm.
I told her, I said, yeah, my wife was, really receptive about it. So she just said, oh, it's the most developed country in Africa. Of course, she would like to be there. But I don't
Mhm.
think my wife knew too much about SA post apartheid. Like,
Yes, yeah, I did.
you did?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
No, but it's not okay. So I'm Haitian, right?
Mhm.
So all that other it don't phase me, right? The things moving slow responses when you're
Mhm.
doing something, ordering something, that stuff doesn't bother me, right?
Mhm.
So it has nothing to do with development. It had like I said, I can't respond to why I said it because even remember I told you in the beginning, my mindset was how can the kids navigate?
Transition, yeah.
So so that was still a concern. So that is why we did a whole month trip, stayed here for a
Mhm.
whole month prior to see, just to see how it feels. How can, because we knew that we're coming, and the fact that he said the Lord and he told me the whole story, because I told him, what what took you so long to tell me this? Like, I mean, if God told you, like, I'm not gonna fight that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So when we got, we came in agreement per se, and the reason, there's a reason why I say per se, right? Because we haven't really made a decision when we're going. We're looking to go. We're doing more research, right?
Mhm.
So I believe when it really hit for me, because it was the year before your mom was diagnosed with the year your mom was diagnosed with cancer, we were planning to go. And then was it that year? Yeah, it was COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
COVID.
COVID.
I went to
Um,
Uganda earlier that year too.
yeah. So it's when she passed away, we were like, yeah, we gotta go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was like it completely solidified we have to go. So after she passed away in January, after her funeral and everything, we I booked.
2021.
Yeah, I booked. I just booked. I just went online, booked our flight, booked with the Real South Africa, and that was it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there was no changing our mind at this point because everything was booked,
Yeah.
right? So we wanted to spend. My prayer was more so, Lord, like, will the kids be okay? Can they transition different? I have no problem. Someone who speaks, who's bilingual. It's not an issue. Not bilingual and a half, but the French is gone. But it's just knowing. I know how I felt being in a place, because I tell my husband all the time. So I was born and raised in. I'm the only one of seven who was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. My siblings were born in Haiti. So I
Oh.
had to explain to my husband that my first language is not English. In the household, I learned French and Creole. That was the language we spoke in the house. I had to take what would they call it back in the day? ESL?
ESL.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to learn English. And when
Wow.
we got home, the concept was, you're gonna speak English in school, but in the house, we have to communicate,
Right.
right? So I have to be able to communicate with my grandmother. I had to communicate with siblings and my aunts and uncles. So the language barrier was there. So I knew how, when I was speaking with Americans and stuff, there's some accents during that time, or I would say certain words incorrectly, and how I was shunned, right?
Mhm.
So things like that was in the back of my head. Like, okay, are they going to be okay being able to not speak a language and this? Are they going to adjust with other students or the kids their age and stuff? So those were the things that were my main concern when it came to them. So when we came here in November to spend a whole month, I think it started from the airport when a moment. So when you're going through custom in the
Mhm.
airport, it's a long line, right? So I
Mhm.
know already the atmosphere in the airport was very chill. People was just, doing their jobs and having fun doing it.
Mhm.
So my name is not an easy name to pronounce when you look at it, right?
Mhm.
The proper way. It's not Ezekiel. So when we got there, she took handed her our passport. She looked at. You can tell when somebody is like, I mean, it's a whole different hue happened. It's like she was in a. She completely trans out of her body. She looked at me. She looked at the passport, and she said, "Welcome home, Ezekiel." I almost passed out because I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" She said my name right, and then after she said it, kind of like she smacked, like she came back to reality and handed me the passport. That was like, I was like, okay, whoa, okay, God, I see what you're doing.
So hold on. So it it is pronounced how she said it.
Yes, Ezekiel.
So it's Ezekiel. Okay. So not Ezekiel.
It's not Ezekiel. It's derived from Ezekiel and Michelle.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle, but it's not. It's not
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. Ezekiel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
So
Okay.
you have to understand, with a name like that, where people always pronouncing it incorrectly, I feel like the Lord was using that to get my attention,
Mhm.
right? Because I'm used to people just pronouncing it differently. I mean, Ezekiel is a shell. I mean, every whatever different way, right? And
That's a shame.
yeah, and so for her to say it right,
Uh-uh.
it caught my attention. So to me, I think that was what the whole that experience was, to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention. So from that moment leaving the airport, it was wide eyed open. Like I was paying attention to everything, so much so that I was able to pick out. Wait a minute, why? So I have a biology background. I'm
Okay.
looking at the trees, and I'm like, these are different species. And
All
I'm like,
right.
they have different species of trees here. So I was like, let me Google this up. They actually purposely did that. They took different species of trees from different countries,
Mm-hmm.
um, and planted them in Johannesburg.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
to me, that's profound. To somebody, people be like,
Mm-hmm.
"And," but for me, for me, it's very interesting, right? So I was like, "Okay, Lord, I mean, you really talking here? You're really talking." I was paying attention to. That's when I realized I had a form of PTSD in regards to the the tenseness that I always experience when Scott will be heading home from work. So he used to work for Progressive, coming home around 2 o'clock in the morning in a
Mm-hmm.
completely darkened Caucasian area. Um, so I was always testing, of course, being pulled, and all that. That's always was
Mm-hmm.
like a scare to me. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize it because it was so normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until I got here, it's when the Lord was like, no, this is not normal. And he went out. I never felt anything.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I would say, go ahead, have fun. I'm staying in. It was
Yeah.
never, I never felt a tenseness regarding him stepping out, right? Those who understand can understand. That's my experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was these little things that were happening throughout the time of being here for a month. Another one was the experience that I had at the Mall of Africa with Israel. So remember, my main concern was the kids. So we didn't have her yet. So Israel was 7, and he just experienced a rejection due to his color at a playground, right? And
While you guys were in
in
South
America,
Africa? Oh, in America. Okay.
in America. So he just experienced this,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean he questioned like why, but he's a little kid, so kind of redirected his thought process, right? So for me, it's fresh in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent and as a mom and as a mama bear, it was like, right? But when we came here. We went to the Mall of Africa. In the Mall of Africa, they have the courtyard outside
Mm-hmm.
area, and it's like a almost like amusement park there as well. So yeah, he was playing in the splash water, and a few of South African students or kids came, and they realized he was American, and they readjusted to play with him. To
Wow.
me, after experience what I experienced with him, I was like, I'm sold. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold. It's like I'm really sold, because I was like, you know what? He's gonna have a different experience. And even if he has any negative, the positive is going to be more strong. It will
It's going
be
to
much more
outweigh.
stronger, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then when we visited Crawford International, the fact that he was never schooled traditionally. He was always homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
He fell in love with the school. He did not want to leave. He was like, "Can we come back the next day?" As if he was a student. We're like, "No, we can't come back. This is just a visit. Go get it." And so it was these little things that I was paying attention to, and how South Africans, doesn't matter what tribe they are, the way they greet each other and stuff. Like you can't pass by a South African or doing
Yes.
something and they
Yes.
don't greet each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we had a few experiences where one bumped into each other, didn't make a big deal. They laughed and then and then kept on moving. Never met each other before. No, it doesn't matter. And I coming
So
from a
nobody pulled out a
place.
gun. Nobody pulled out a gun.
No,
They
No.
didn't turn around and look at him like, "Hey, you better not do that again. What's your problem?"
no. No,
Uh,
Okay.
no. It was just like they became friends right there and then disappeared, you
Hmm.
know? And that's it. And I see it every time. You know, a matter of fact, remember we were coming into our estate and our Uber driver, it's so common for them to greet each other. This the security guard did not greet him, right?
Hmm.
And our driver's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Hello, you know, how are you doing and
Yeah.
stuff." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just about to clock out and I didn't realize it." And did it, and and we knew that
Hmm.
because the Uber driver would explain to us what was that conversation and stuff. And he's like, "No, we don't do that. Like we
Yeah.
have to greet, you know." And to me, it's beautiful. Is that community sense that I see you, you
Yes.
know, and that
Yes.
is why we call our channel Passports and Boots, because I am, because you are, we are, right?
Yes.
And it's that's what we saw, at least that's what I saw, you know,
Hmm.
coming here. And it did give me a sense of home, because in the Caribbean and Haiti, how even not even in Haiti, like in Boston, for example, we're like a close-knit community.
Hmm.
It's the same, that, you know, I care for you, I'm looking out for you
Yeah.
type of thing. My mom, who came in as an immigrant, learned the ropes so that she can help others who's
Hmm.
coming in from Haiti. You know, so it's that mentality, to me, to see it here in such a grand scale was beautiful. I'm not saying they don't have their issues. I'm not saying none of that. We're all humans, we got issues, but to see that as it's important to them, it's a
Hmm.
plus. It's a plus. There's no way around it.
Because those are things that we miss, that we don't get, you know.
hmm
Yes, a lot. It's interesting that a lot of what you guys have talked about experience, those are things that we have experienced when we were in Rwanda, things that I've experienced when visiting South Africa, just the community, um,
Mm-hmm.
and just, things. As a matter of fact, I remember when we went to South Africa. I think it was the second time. Um, Maybe it was the first or second time. And so experiencing the greeting. And so I didn't know that, you greet everybody. I mean, that you're supposed to greet before we get down to business. There has to be a how you doing, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so we went to the what's the museum? Not the Apartheid Museum. It's the museum downtown Johannesburg. I can't remember the name of it. Um, but we go to the museum, and me being a typical American, I just came up to the desk and I just asked the security guard. I said, um, how much does it cost to get in or something? I can't remember. And this was the only bad experience I've had in Johannesburg. Um, and dude straight got an attitude. I
uh,
mean, like literally got an attitude, and he did not speak to me. And it was another guy sitting next to him, and so he was kind of, trying to explain to me that, okay, basically you didn't speak or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, I didn't know, I'm not from here. And it was a contentious situation, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. And I'm explaining to the security guard, I'm like, listen, I mean, I'm from America. I don't know how things are done. I mean, you could have just told me, and we would have
right.
had to, we could have moved past this, whatever. I ended up having to get a one of the managers or somebody else to come over, whatever, to kind of, straighten things out, because I'm like, I'm not from here. I don't know. I'm not doing things intentionally, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to say, I understand. And it's crazy because now when I came back, I mean, now I greet everybody. You know what I'm saying? Before we
Mm-hmm.
get down to business or whatever, it's, hey, how you doing? Whatever, whatever. But I think it's interesting.
Right.
So tell me what have been some, um, I guess before we get there, so crime, that's a big thing when it comes to South Africa. I remember when we lived in Rwanda, we had some individuals who visited, they came from South Africa. There was an individual who I think had lived in South Africa, and we had some friends who had visited South Africa, and they mentioned the crime. Um, Tell people, what have you guys had any experience with crime there? Also, what were your expectations before you came in regards to crime?
Yeah, and like because I did so much, reading and stuff, I did know about crime, and I guess maybe some things just from my general knowledge of traveling to Africa, knowing about, you got to be careful of pickpocketing and petty theft, right?
Mm-hmm.
But overall, yeah, I did my research regarding, what I learned is that kind of like in the U.S., you can have areas and communities that experience certain higher levels of certain types of crime.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, in impoverished areas, typically
Mhm.
certain types of crime. Because, like I said,
Right.
we know in the states you can have mass shootings anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can be in a rich neighborhood, and you hear about an active shooter, right? Or anything can happen at any place, right? But one thing that I have to say is that, well, where we live for sure, I have not experienced any type of anything. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we live on this in an estate, and a criminal would have to be out of their mind
Mm.
to want to
Yeah.
try to break in, and
The
you're
security
like somebody
is
that's really lost your mind because the
Yeah.
security is really
it's
like a
intense.
gated community is really a gated
I mean, it
community.
came. It was a point we couldn't even get in, and we were resident here because we had the wrong something, and or no, our my face. So they do like facial recognition to get into the building. Right? I mean,
Okay.
the estate.
To get
Okay.
Yeah,
into the estate, yeah.
and it wasn't working. It kept on saying welcome, so it recognized me, but it won't open the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, "Well, I can't help you. We got to figure this out from
The
the
manager.
main office, the management. So can you use the QR code?" And that's when I knew there's a QR code that you can use and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like. They would not let me in
Wow.
until that
Really.
was figured out. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
they're very intentional and strict about the rules,
And then,
right?
even we lived in Santon
Yeah.
briefly, and so Santon is a little bit more like where we live now is Midrand. So
Mm-hmm.
Midrand is like outside of Santon. So this is all part of Johannesburg, but they have areas that would really be cities that are kind of grouped off into different little
Right.
subsections, right? So um, that was a little bit more densely populated, but you had a series of gated communities. And I would go for walks with me and my son, and I've never had any problems. Nobody's ever
No.
bothered us or said anything. One Uber driver told me, he said, "Man, come here and be yourself, man. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't don't let all the things that you hear about crime scare you or nothing like that." And he's like, "Look at this man over here." Some white guy was jogging down the street. He said, "Some of these guys over here are millionaires. Nobody mess." Dude was just
Yeah.
jogging down the street, folk, just going about their way, not bothering
Mm-hmm.
him, not bothering anybody. So I would say that, like, where the areas that we're in, I felt very safe. And I'm someone that takes, that's, tries to be aware of their
Yeah.
environment. Um,
I think people can outsiders can over exaggerate and even
well, even people that live in a
live
place.
in the place can over exaggerate the crime, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. The only crime that it was a petty crime. It was when we were in Rosebank the first time we came. It was that snatching somebody's phone. But I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. I see it happen more in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen more crimes happen face to face in New York when we used to go visit when we were younger,
Mm-hmm.
right? I used to live in a place called Mattapan that they considered murder pan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you how many drive-bys that we have had growing up. So to
Yeah, and I
to
grew up in a place called East Cleveland.
yeah,
So
so
yeah, yeah. Go
it's
ahead.
it, when you are, and we're just gonna be frank and be honest and transparent. There's crime in any tax bracket, right? But there are certain things that you're just not going to intermingle yourself when you have means, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we were living in Ohio, we bought a house in a great neighborhood. If you go down the hill, take a right, a left, that's a whole different story,
Right.
right? But when you go up the hill to Upper Valley, it's it's like a creme de la creme area that people don't move because it's a place that people want to stay, right?
Hmm.
So when you're able to provide that and live in those type of areas or where you choose to live to give yourself the security that you're looking for, you're not trying to go to a slum or something like that to live. That's not where you're gonna live. That's just
Hmm.
not where you're gonna live. So you're not going to put yourself in a predicament that's gonna cause harm for yourself. So whenever I hear people say, "Oh, South Africa has Joburg," really out here, Joburg is high in crime, but I was like, well, Cape Town actually has higher crime. But anyways, we if you look at the numbers, Cape Town is higher. But we know the reason why that's whitewashed, right?
Yes. Yes.
But but let's be real. Where in this world that does not have crime,
Right.
right? So, like you, as you stated, you're going to pick a place you want to live, knowing the pros and cons, and you're going to weigh the cons to see if this is something I can
Hmm.
deal with
Hmm.
or learn how to navigate. How can I avoid or whatever it is, or is this something that no, I don't want to deal with? And it's different for everybody. So I don't bash anyone who feels like South Africa is this, but I do lose respect for people who never visit and states it.
Hmm.
Oh, most
That I
definitely.
have a
Yeah.
problem. You never
Yeah.
really did proper research. You just heard,
Right.
right? Or you read something on Google. But please, let's let go of Google. Let's stop Googling it, right? Let's stop using that verb and let's stop opening a book and start having first hand experiences before you make a statement, because that's how rumors, people listen to the word of mouth before they listen to the facts, right?
Hmm.
So your opinion is coming out based on a perception of something you never experienced. So I wouldn't, and I say that because even they do that with Haiti, right?
Hmm.
You think it's just crime, gangster. Yeah, they have
Yes.
that, but it's only Port-au-Prince. That's the capital. It's like you telling me DC is crazy now. It's the whole United. Well, right now it may be, but that's not the point. But something happens in DC. You're telling me the entire United States is experiencing it.
Yeah.
So it's
No.
it's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like I grew up in a place called East Cleveland, and so in the '90s, this is during the crack era, right?
Mhm.
So in East Cleveland, even to this day, is one of the poorest cities in all of Ohio, and it's right outside of Cleveland. And
Hmm.
so I grew up in a neighborhood where, at a point, especially during the summer, you would hear gunshots at night,
Mhm.
sometimes in the daylight too, and stuff. So then when we moved to a particular suburb not too far in Cleveland, and Cleveland is one of the highest crime um, cities
Exactly.
in
City.
in the United States. But where we lived in Cleveland, and this is a black neighborhood, well, I would
Yeah,
say
black
mostly black neighborhood,
majority black
majority black neighborhood,
homeowners.
very quiet, very peaceful. I mean, literally, it was like what my mom described in the '50s. Like you could almost leave your bike outside, nobody would take it or nothing like
Hmm.
that. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it really depends on where you're at
Right.
and what you're involved in. Like, I'm
Yes.
not getting involved with the underworld in Joburg, right? I'm not here
Right.
to try
Right.
to get involved with any
I'm
of
not
that.
having no club life where it's just come
You
on,
know what I'm saying? I'm
right?
not saying I would never go to a neighborhood that's high in crime for ministry purposes
Right.
or
Hmm.
um, different townships have different things, even nice places you can go to and stuff.
Hmm.
Not saying that I would never do that, but I'm just going to be mindful and aware of the
Right.
places I'm
Hmm.
going.
The
You
times
know
you're
what I mean?
going. Yeah.
Time I'm going.
Yes.
Hmm.
And then and then like I remember one time this one dude tried to hustle us at the ATM machine, and I honestly that's something that can happen anywhere.
Hmm.
Happens to me in Boston and in New York
You know what I
before,
mean? So
right? So.
I've never yeah, I'm mindful and I take heed. I listen to what local people
Hmm.
share, and then also have to understand where another local person maybe where their perspective is coming from. Number one, when you live in the place longer, you just know everything.
Thing.
You
Yeah.
know the cracks and crannies. You know the good
Yeah.
and the bad, right? But even out here, people will tell me they said, "No, it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
It's a pretty safe area.
Very
Sandals
safe.
pretty safe,
Yeah.
you know." And
You know,
yeah,
I think also it's your, I guess, perception. I mean, I guess how you grew up, because I grew up in DC. Um,
Right.
Mhm.
and I mean, at the time when DC was the murder capital.
Mhm.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm like you. I mean, you know what areas to go into, what areas not to go into. And so when we went to South Africa, I remember, I don't know if you guys have been to Maboneng yet,
No,
Mm-mm.
not
but
yet.
I'm hearing all this stuff about, you don't go to Maboneng, you don't go to the CBD and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the
It's
Mhm.
CBD.
dangerous and
Yeah.
everything. And the first time we went, I went with my mother. And so we were with someone who was driving us around and everything. And we went to Maboneng, and it just seemed like any other, downtown spot or whatever. And
Right.
so um, the next time I came back, I went with my wife, and we were in Mabone. I think we went to Mabone or whatever, and we just walking around like it's no big deal. Um, and also in the CBD, because the CBD is notorious for being
Right.
saying that it's
Yeah.
just just so
Yeah.
dangerous. And I guess if you have, I mean, like you all have, if you've grown up in particular areas, then you kind of know. I mean, this is. I mean, it may be bad at night. You know what I'm saying? But this is nothing
Right,
compared
right,
to what I'm used to. Um,
right, right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. And
Yeah.
then I've heard like I saw videos of CBD, and then people say there's different parts of the CBD.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you have parts of the CBD where they have really put back reinvestment back into it.
Hmm.
And you got parts that still,
Rough.
and so it's like, and I think too, if we're going to be honest too, I think okay, South Africa is a very transparent country. So you get all the statistics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Some places you don't get all the
Yeah.
statistics.
Most
A
places
lot
you
of places
don't.
you don't. So people, that shapes a lot of perceptions. I mean, I'm not, so I've, like I said, I've never heard a gunshot out here. I've
Hmm.
been in Santon. Nobody has approached me yet. Okay, praise God. I pray that I don't. I pray that I
Hmm.
don't get robbed. If I did, I
Right.
would give it up and give it to somebody. But you can have a safe experience here. I can't guarantee that for somebody, but it's not the areas we've been in have not been any places
Never.
that I've felt in danger or nothing like that.
Mm-mm.
And I kind of do want to. I would like to see more of the CBD and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be
Hmm.
mindful about where I go to and the times
Yeah.
that I go.
Right.
But I mean, FMB still has their headquarters in the CBD,
Hmm.
and some other places do too. So if they have their stuff down there, then they must feel
It's not
pretty
as
secure about
bad.
it.
It's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
what people. I mean, listen. I'm gonna be honest. I like the CBD. I'm gonna just be real with you. I like the CBD
Right.
because I'm a city person,
Hmm.
so I like being where the people are, getting all
Right.
the deals and Junebug standing on the corner, selling orange for 1 rand. I mean that's I mean when I we went so I just came back in August. I
Mm,
went this the third time with my uncle, and so we were walking down CBD, and I'm like, man, this is where all the deals are. This is where all the
I
deals
heard
are.
that.
When you down in the
Yeah.
CBD, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just it's ridiculous. So I love the CBD. I love the CBD.
Yeah.
Didn't we pass it when we were going to?
We went to the West Rand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it reminded me of New York. You know that the shopping area where people are outside. You have people just trying to, you know, hustle and
That's it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Just people
it just
trying to.
reminded me of that. It didn't.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like, oh my God, I ain't come. I didn't get that at all. But I would love to experience the deals though.
Yeah.
And
Man,
stuff.
listen,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
deals of that when it comes to fruit and vegetables, when it comes to the some of the local the shops down there when it comes to getting
Yeah.
clothes and stuff like that or whatever, you can get deals. But I want to transition because I don't want to
Mhm.
spend all the time on crime.
Yeah.
um,
Right.
tell me about some of the cultural shocks that you guys have experienced or you may have experienced since you've been there, something that some things that shocked you culturally that people should be aware of.
I don't think it's more of a cultural shock. Besides it's really minute stuff. For example, the locks. There's not, you know how in the States there's a bolt where you on the inside you can unlock it without a key. On the outside
Mm-hmm.
you have to lock it with a key. Here you have to lock from the inside and from the outside with a key.
Yeah, yeah.
That is to me like,
That's an
oh,
African thing.
fire hazard, fire
That's an
hazard, you
African
know?
thing.
Like if I'm running and trying to get out because it's a fire, I have to find the key so I can get out the building. So
That's an African thing.
that's one.
That's
The other
African
thing
thing.
is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
bathrooms don't have sockets. Like
Um,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't blow dry hair. I can't. There's no sockets.
was it like that?
That is
Mhm.
true.
There's no
Yeah,
sockets.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
unless if it's a person who built their homes and they added that,
Yeah,
they won't have that.
you know, I
Mm.
think the
Charge.
um I wouldn't say really cultural shocks or cultural things to be aware of. One thing I noticed that a lot of South Africans, especially like your younger ones born maybe in the 80s and 90s, they all have African names, which I think is a beautiful thing. Like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
have their African name.
Yeah.
Um, you know, people are still very much, don't let all the modern buildings and stuff like that fool you. People are still very much rooted into their culture. So, you know, I have friends of mine that tell me about when they're in their 20s or whatever, they may have like a circumcision ceremony for the guys, and they might go onto the bush, and there's a whole ceremony with
At
that,
20?
right? Yeah.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
And you're supposed you're like
Ooh,
really
mercy.
a man and really like part of the community now, like with more respect.
And
And
I asked our friend, I was like, how do they know? She's like,
people
they
know.
know.
They know you've been circumcised.
They know. And
They
I'm
know.
like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Huh, but
That
yeah.
that so you know, there's still some people still practice like polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
got that type of thing. Some people
Yeah.
still pray to the ancestors. So
Mm-hmm.
that could be a shock for some people. But largely, a lot of South African people are very friendly and they're willing, you know, you get to know South
To share.
Africans,
Yeah.
they'll like take you on a tour of their culture and explain things to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or help you understand things, or even if you want to share the gospel with people, how you should approach it and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they do a great job of kind of pulling you in. They want to. They really want to pull us in and help us to understand things, and so we can have like a cultural exchange. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing to learn
Yeah.
and don't judge it, I mean, you know, you can hold your principles,
Yeah.
but be
Just
willing to
understand.
learn, and it could be like an enriching experience for you.
And
You
you'll
know,
find out that even amongst the tribes, there's some stuff they like, oh yeah, we don't support that from the
Mm-hmm.
Zulu tribe or from the Venda tribe or something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you learn the little nuances between each other. Not saying they're disrespectful for anything like that. It's just that for that culture, like our friend Funzu, she would say, yeah, I don't deal with such and such because they
Mm-hmm.
do XYZ there, right?
Okay.
It's not that she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have friends that are from that or anything, but it's just when it comes to that cultural, we don't even have that conversation because
Yeah.
we're not having an
well,
agreement there, right?
a lot of you have people who are more rooted in certain traditions, and then you know,
Than
as we know, some traditions are not always good traditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or people just, you know, it's
And there's some tribes that are they like she said her tribe, she's Venda. They have been modernized like there's a lot of stuff they just completely don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most of the things that they carry is more the dynamic of male and female. That's more their
no like
their dynamic that they keep, right? But in regards to certain traditional stuff, they just don't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a thing if your tradition. It depends on where you're at. Like,
Yeah.
where's your faith at? What do you believe? That type of thing.
Hmm.
So, if you feel like that's a contradiction against your faith,
Yeah.
people are pretty malleable. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, um, you know, cultures. grow and they change. You know, people evolve with certain
Mhm.
things and over time and stuff like that. So you know, it really depends on who you're. You know, some South Africans are more traditional about
Than
some things
others.
than
Yeah,
others.
it's fine.
But like as I stated, one thing that a lot of people that I've met are willing to do is to help you understand what's going on. So I think for
Oh,
me on a like if you were just to come here and visit, coming from the U.S. At first glance, I don't think South Africa is going to be a huge shock to you.
no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It'll be things like driving on the other side of
Side of
the
the
road.
road. Yeah.
That type of stuff would be the immediate things that you'll notice.
Mhm.
People are going to look like your cousin. They're going to look like your uncle.
Yes. How many
The
times you have
only
said
the
that?
only time that you're aware that that's not your uncle is the accent,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? And
But
sometimes they're coming up to you like,
yeah.
I thought you were so and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at first glance, you're not going to really, you're not going to deal with a whole lot of. At least for me, I didn't deal with a whole lot of shock,
Hmm.
but it's just that as you start learning about certain cultures and customs,
Yeah.
Pan Labola, bride price,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's completely different. But to me, I think it's cool because it's like it gives you a glimpse of what our forefathers did. You know, that they
Right.
were paying bride prices, that they were doing certain things and stuff like
Right.
that,
Right.
and everything else. So, like I stated, the people here have been very good at like helping you like adjust. I think.
Yeah, and for me, it's one thing that happened recently was when my friend Sharon, who's also my business partner, she expressed because I'll be cooking some Haitian dishes and stuff like that, and she expressed. I mean, she was so how do I like? She felt so joyful because something that I did, and she said it reminded her of her when she was younger, the food.
Mm.
And she said, "Oh my goodness, it just brought so much, joy to her heart that she's like, oh my God, I think our culture are very to find out that we have more in common
Yeah.
culturally. Which I mean, if you understand the history behind Haiti, then you'll
Exactly.
see
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Hmm.
But it's still that's West Africa. But still, the fact that she's able to make that connection that yeah, we're supposed to be together. That's how she said it
Hmm.
stated, right? And
Hmm.
stuff, and to be able to for them to be open to what I bring, and I'm open to what they're bringing. it's
Hmm.
it's a beautiful dynamic if you're willing to learn. And the
Yeah.
reason I state that is because unfortunately America has trained a lot of their citizen to be a bit of a spoiled brat, right?
Hmm.
Everything has to fit according to my comfort, right? Is what I know, that's what's right.
What I'm used
And
to. Yeah.
you can't go into somebody's country doing that. Like don't do that. We're not saying to let go of who you are. No, bring who you are, but also receive the other as well
That's right.
Hmm.
and stuff. And you'll be amazed at how much more you have in common than you don't.
Hmm.
And then the things you don't, hey, that's a conversation. Hey, what not?
Hmm.
Meet the middle ground and understand each other. And I love how South Africans are very hospitable and open in that area and stuff. So yeah.
What are some challenges, if any, that you guys have faced since moving there? It could have been, when you were in the process of moving, when you first got there. Have there been any challenges that you guys have faced?
Yeah, I think. Okay, so um, we rented a place before we got here.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So
I forgot about that.
I'm gonna tell people at home, listen, there's wonderful properties online,
Beautiful.
but I would say come look at the place first before
Visit
you rent
first.
it out. So we rented a place in Sanson, and Sanson's a really nice area.
The house was beautiful.
Beautiful
Hmm.
home,
It's just the owner did not
beautiful home.
maintain it properly.
Yeah.
So, I'm contractual. I'm by the word, by the lines, right?
Hmm.
So I made sure that we added certain things to the contract, certain things that he had to do. When we got there, nothing was done. right?
Mm.
Gave you a chance to get it done, you pushed back a bit. Matter of fact, one of the employees from that management company said something that triggered me to say, I need to talk to your manager. We're not having no more conversation. And I
Mhm.
think they did not realize how serious I was until they saw that we're leaving, right? And they tried to, I mean, when I mean they tried to keep us, they got their lawyer to call me, to the point, I mean, I knew. So this is why I said people to do their homework, right? So I read up on their housing laws and this for the CPA and everything. So I knew exactly what I was throwing at them, right? So they got their lawyer to call me to try and intimidate and for me to stay. And so she's talking to me and everything as if I did not understand. And I explained to her how I do understand. And then I explained
Mhm.
to her the condition of the what's going on and the contract that they signed and agreed on. And let's just say the conversation ended where she was apologizing.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So know what you don't throw the towel. I'm moving back to America. No, like, ha, just know what you're doing and address it accordingly to the best that you can.
Mhm.
And we have heard a lot that they don't give back your deposit. They don't give back.
Other
Be
people have had bad,
experience
these
with
are South Africans that have
yeah.
had
They
that.
don't
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
don't usually give. It's very hard to get your deposit and anything. Let's just say, I think because of how we went about it, not only did we get the deposit, we got the utility, we got the cleaning, the back. So they knew that. Wait a minute, she knows. They know what they do here,
Yeah.
right?
And,
I'm gonna
So
tell you. I was gonna say one thing. The picture thing. We experienced when we were moving to Rwanda. That I mean, pictures lie. That's number one.
right.
Number two is,
mhm.
um, I think one thing that the South Africans, as well as anybody on the continent, can learn from. We of course are going to learn from them, but also they can learn from us. Is that Black Americans we tend to handle things a little bit differently,
Yep.
and so it's like we're not ones that are just going to let this thing slide. We're going
Yeah.
to we
That's
going
what.
go
That's
ahead.
exactly what our friend said. She's like, "Oh, they meant an American." They meant, she was like, "Oh, they got
Yeah.
it. They thought they were gonna do something. They didn't realize who they were dealing with."
No.
And
Yeah.
so, because she did state that a lot of times when they do it to the locals, they do throw their hands up, right? Because it's
Mm,
just so much to deal with, right? And
yeah.
then sometimes they just don't know all the information. They
Hmm.
know it's wrong. You're not supposed to, but they don't know how to present it, right?
Right.
And sometimes they know it's just they don't want to deal with
I
the
think people.
back and forth.
I think a lot of people in Africa are. It's more of a culture of politeness.
It is.
So
It is
Yeah.
people don't really like
pushback.
confrontation. You know what I mean? A lot, so they rather avoid it.
Yeah.
And you know us, right?
We love
We don't. We
conflict.
love confrontation.
Especially when it comes to our money.
Especially when we know we right.
You know,
Right?
Come on now.
we
All
gotta
of the
truly.
above.
Oh
All of the
no.
above.
So, but I
Yeah.
mean, but that was really the main
Yeah.
challenge. Other than that,
Yeah.
the blessing is there are a lot of great properties here, a
Yeah.
plethora of options and places to go to. So we
Hmm.
ended up coming to the area that my wife wanted anyway, which is Waterfall, and she's always liked this estate. So just like you stated,
Beautiful.
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 So
Beautiful.
we just came here. We stayed with a friend of ours for a couple of days. Came here and got into the place really quickly. So,
You got to tell them how quickly. So this real estate agent, Sandra, she got us in the next day.
yeah,
Oh wow.
next
Yes,
day,
the
Oh
next
wow.
day.
yeah,
Oh
She made it
wow.
happen.
she made it
You see what I'm
happen.
saying? So don't give up when you hit a hurdle because you're gonna
Yeah,
hit something when you move
yeah.
somewhere. Doesn't matter. Don't don't give up. Oh, oh, sorry.
Are we still there? I think
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom just called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, don't give up.
Yeah, don't give
May
up.
because when that's why we tell people to come visit,
Hmm.
make connection and network with people
Yes.
Yeah.
and stuff. So he keeps doing that. Hold on, we gotta
Okay.
tell my mom. Give me a minute.
Yeah. No, no,
Okay.
no, but no, like how you've done. You've visited multiple times. You've and then too, I think the blessing is that you lived in Rwanda for some time, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Oh my
I know that's a beautiful country, very well
Beautiful.
ran,
god.
very
Beautiful.
beautiful, very well ran
Hmm.
country that's come far from the incidents of the genocide in the '90s. But yeah, I mean, you just you can't easily give up. Um, I
Yeah, you
think
be
that
dealing with it.
challenges are just lessons,
Yeah.
things
Hmm.
that you learn, so you can learn, maybe pass on the knowledge to somebody else and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that was really the major
Yeah, I don't
issue.
think we had any,
Like,
even from start to finish, from when the Lord made it clear that you're moving this year.
Hmm.
Everything just fell into place, right?
Amen.
No, there was no hiccups. There was no problems. Um, I mean, from the start of getting
Hmm.
prepared, collecting documents, meeting with the immigration service, submitting documents, doing our immigration interview, and coming over, right? Only thing that I think we did wrong, well,
Hmm.
I say we did wrong, was not doing a direct flight, because this beautiful husband of mine wanted us to go to Qatar and visit Qatar first and all that, and I'm like, Lord, but it was a long trip with a 17-month, 18-month old at that time,
Hmm.
and our son, who is very talkative. So it was a peaceful trip. It's just a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't have, besides that house issue thingy. It was more of a learning. I don't see. It went out my mind like it was a challenge, because to me it was just a learning experience. I think it was properly handled, and resolved, right?
Hmm.
And even if we were not going to get what we put in our deposit or whatnot, the Lord made it where we were good, we were okay and stuff. So it was just
Amen.
having peace with that, and then keep moving and don't get distracted and stuff.
hmm
So that is very important, to be connected, network,
Hmm.
network, network, and network. Meet people, be open. I am a, how do I say, like a want to be introvert, that I want to say, like, I love to be in, like, I'm homebody. I'm a very
Hmm.
homebody. I could take so much outside, I can take so much of people, and then I got to rejuvenate,
All
right?
right
And
now.
just recharge
Yeah.
myself. But it it really does, when I feel like I don't feel like going nowhere, whatever, Scott, hey, go to that meeting, go to that gathering, or something.
Yeah, just send me.
I'm like, go
Just send
enjoy
me.
yourself, you never know who you're gonna meet, like.
Uh,
Me, I'm like, in my head, I was like, I don't want to meet nobody right now. But
yeah.
so it's just, it's an experience. Make it,
Hmm.
you live it once, enjoy it, make the best out of it, and then keep moving. I think that's what I would encourage anybody to do. If you decide to move, wherever you decide to move, make the best out of it. And if you see that it's going to be a temporary stay, then it's a temporary stay. Don't bash the country. Just say it's a temporary
Right.
stay, and then
Yes.
move to the next. If we know a lot of people who a few people who made it clear that they moved to Ghana and decided, oh no, we're not doing Ghana. But they're not
Hmm.
bashing Ghana. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There's just, it was not the great fit for them at that time and
That's
stuff.
right.
Like, you met the lady here who had a property who has land
Liberia.
in Liberia, but and she spent a month in
She went to Liberia first.
yeah,
Then she spent a month in Kenya. Then she moved here in
and then she
July.
moved here.
She's in this estate too.
She just saw that,
Okay.
oh, this is a better transition for her.
Hmm.
Right.
So that's why, I mean, it's 54 countries. Just check it out.
That's it.
We just end up
That's
That's
it.
it.
coming to South Africa. Now, are we gonna go visit other countries?
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
our situation's a little bit different, where the Lord said here, right?
That's right.
So this is just where we're gonna be, I mean, in the sense of our roots, but we're going to visit other places. It's not
Hmm.
just here. So I encourage people to just go. If you feel an unction to go, you watching all these YouTubes, don't just watch. Make a plan and come and visit.
You gotta go. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta go. I appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate you guys so much. Before I let you go, give us any social media or anything that you guys. I know you guys have a YouTube channel, Passport to Ubuntu. We're going to put that up. And if I'm not mistaken, you are. Tell us um, what you do. Is it Kyle, right?
Hmm.
Did I say it right?
You said it right.
All right, all right. I don't like to, mess people's names up. I know now, you know. Um, so I know that you are. Tell us. I don't know if you want to share your. You are your expertise and what you're kind of doing over there to help people to move to South Africa.
Oh, sure. So besides our YouTube channel, which is more informative, to just share as much as we can, we're not, hoarders of the information. Um, I basically have been in real estate even in the States. So what I decided to start doing here is to connect with landlords or people who are planning to purchase properties to do Airbnbs, short term rentals, not long term, because it's a process here, but short term rentals and manage those properties for them. So if they're not planning to move, but they want to have property, you can buy property here without being a resident. So if you decide to do real estate investment in that area, I can help in that direction as well.
Okay. Do you have any contacts? Any way would you would like people to contact you? Email or through your YouTube
Email.
channel?
Email will be the best way. The fastest way of finding me. It will be email.
Okay. What email would
It
you like?
is easy, period, virtual, virtual, period, assist, assist, at Gmail. So easy virtual assist at Gmail.
All right. Make sure I got that right,
Yep,
please.
that's correct.
All right. All right. We appreciate you guys so much for stopping by and
Well,
giving us your take on South Africa.
oh,
Um,
well,
it is. I am hoping to get back there in the near future, and hopefully we can get
yes,
together
yes.
and see about Joburg, see what's going on in
Yes.
Joburg. Yes, yes. But you all, thank you so much for stopping by. And
Hmm.
hopefully we could do a part two at some time, and you can guys can give us some updates on what is taking place. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
um, Israel is getting ready to start school and everything, and we want to talk about the
Hmm.
process, some of that, and just some of the other things that you guys may have
Yeah.
experienced. Um, yes, any closing comments you guys have for us?
I just wanted to encourage people, that if you have a dream, a vision, and you feel like Africa is your home, don't give up on that dream or vision. You continue to focus on it, pray about it, strategize, learn, and watch that thing come to pass, and watch it happen. So just have faith, trust, and believe.
Yeah.
Write the vision, make it plain, and run with it.
Yeah.
That's my encouragement to people out here.
Amen. Amen. I appreciate you guys. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and we will see you in the next video.
All
All right.
right, all right.